Good day, everyone. I wanted to alert you that before we get started today, um, that there are some major solar flares that have been ejected from the sun since yesterday. We've had X-class solar flare, X1, I believe, X1 something, I don't remember exactly the number, perhaps it's 1.3 or something like that. And there are multiple M-class solar flares that have also been released from the sun. They are currently now, as of this recording, colliding already at the highest level with the magnetosphere of the planet. They may cause radio outages, electronic malfunctions, power grid disruptions, blackouts, and so on and so forth. So this is something we'll have to work to look out for. The other thing I wanted to also alert you is that the typical solar flare situation, if you're feeling that you have a migraine headache, that you cannot sleep, or you're feeling like you're about to fall, just be on alert for the next 24 hours as this energy moves through. There's it has ionized the magnetosphere of the planet and the poles. Of course, it's going to create aurora borealis at both poles. And it's already triggered a earthquake in New Guinea, because when the solar flares are released, the scientists are finding that there's a direct connection between emission of solar flares and actually earth shifts, earth tectonic plate shifts. So all of these things we have to watch out for and be very careful, since we're going to keep our eyes open and so that we can be alert and move through the shift with grace and finding safe passage. All right. So, and also as far as prayer is concerned, one of the things when solar flares are really causing me to have feeling tired, difficulty breathing, one of the things that I do is that I actually I take naps, power naps. And before I take the naps, I drink lots of water. And before I take the nap, I pray to God. And I ask God to, I pray to God, and I pray to the sun. And I said to the sun, I know you're trying to dismantle something in me, and you're trying to remove, because we're electronic by nature, the same way power grids are getting ionized and there's disruption, or electronic or nerve network, or also dismantling all neural net connection that no longer serves. So when this occurs, I work on it instead of resisting and trying to hold on to it. This is why we feel so unwell. I actually don't resist it. I take a nap. Before the nap, I pray and I ask the sun, whatever it is you're disrupting, you're dismantling, it's for my highest good. I welcome it and I yield. And I go to sleep safely in your arm, and I yield. And when I wake up, I feel absolutely better. All right? Make sure you drink, as much water as you can throughout the next 24 hours. All right. So the other thing I wanted I wanted to continue our conversation that we started last week, which had to do with us talking about how do we find, we were talking about the rest of the peace of God. And for me to find this, I have to examine what my core is like. What is my core? My core is basically like a column of light, or a column which is the center of the torsion field, the center of the donut, that goes from the top of my head inside of me, and that moves all the way into the core of the earth. So when I wake up, for example, whether the solar is because of solar flare or because I'm empathing what's going on in the world, the fear and the crisis and the danger that I'm sensing energetically that's happening around the world. When I wake up sometime, when I do my morning breath control release, I begin to notice that my core feels like it has rubber bands around it, or it's a girdle, it's squeezed, it's tight. And what I do is that I don't run away from that situation. I examine it carefully. I take deep breath. It may take me 10 minutes to do this. I take very deep breath. And as I inhale and exhale, I let my awareness find any area of discomfort that may exist in that column in my center. You can call it the anthakarana. It's the same thing. The anthakarana continues, of course, that column continues all the way out into the higher density. So think of it as the Russian doll. If the part that I'm examining as I do this core query is the one that exists in my physical body. Above me, my fourth dimensional body, it continues higher up. It's like the Russian nested doll. So if I'm on the edge of my skin, it ends for what's in my 3D body. Above it, there's a bigger me, more etherical in the 4D, 5D, and so on and so forth. And the core continues. That's the rainbow bridge that takes us all the way back to God. So as I'm now examining when we do the torsion field, the higher portion of the anthakarana is being taken care of by the guardian alliance of light that are gifting us through their generosity, the neutrality, gifting us and projecting into us the neutrality that they know. So as they do this, I don't have to worry about that part for now. I'm responsible for what exists in me. So because I need to be neutral in that physical body. So I begin to notice and watch inside or feel inside of me as I'm listening to my own self and to that core, what kind of message, information, and insight that these various areas where I feel the tightness in my body, what do they have to share with me? Okay? So I continue to breathe in deeply and slowly, and I allow my awareness to drop in various areas where I feel the tightness. And I asked it, what kind of information would you like to share with me? And I'll simply wait and I listen. And I do deep breath, universal breath. I breathe from the core of the earth. I let this breath move through me, pass outside of my head, go into source. And then from source, I breathe the reverse way. I bring the release and the letting go that's in source. I let it come into my core, descend, and go into the core of the earth. And as I do this, I begin to open up. And out of sometimes the tightness opens, sometimes it's a vision, or an idea or a concept of memory, something from my childhood, something from an experience I had a couple of days earlier, or something unknown to me that I was not conscious of, like an insight about a repressed or suppressed issue that I was not completely aware of pops open by me just listening to myself. So that practice, I'm trying to get all of you to do this. I can guarantee you cannot ascend if you're not doing this. Because enlightenment is about higher awareness. That awareness will not drop if you keep behaving in the manner that you're behaving. Getting yourself busy, distracted, feeling everything else that everyone is feeling, and not taking responsibility for your own feeling and your own internal healing. So as you're doing this, you're allowing whatever exists inside of you that's in conflict, that's not in equilibrium, that's not balanced, to seek balance, find equilibrium, and heal. So the insight that you need, your higher intelligence that exists in you, which is your higher self or your monad, will come in because you're now listening and will begin to give you the insight that you need to find the serenity and the peace that you're seeking. So this is an important practice. You don't have to make it complicated and long. It's just breath and awareness into your core and what exists in that core. in that column, in that anthakarana? Is there a tightness of the kidneys? Is it at your rectum? Is it in your chest? Is it in your shoulders? Is it behind your eyes? Is it on top of your head? Where is this coming from? Sometimes I wake up, and I have to tell you, there are times I wake up, everything is completely joyous and happy. Everything is in complete surrender. I don't want you to give the impression that every morning I wake up, I find it tight. That's not true. And that would be a mischaracterization. In fact, I would say maybe 3/4 of the time there is tightness, but the other 25% of the time, it's just pure joy, pure ecstasy. Everything is open. So that being the case, we should, if it's joy and so on and so forth, move on with the next piece of your practice. There is no issue. Janice, you wanted to say something? You had a question?
No, I just realized that I was not muted. So
okay, not a problem. And so I just wanted you to understand that so now we need to be very aware of this, and spend more time. And again, it's an exercise in listening to self, particularly now that there's going to be a solar eclipse coming up. And by the way, the solar eclipse that's coming up, we should be very careful. For those of you who are in America or wherever you are and you're in the path of it, and a solar eclipse is coming in, do not, under any circumstances, particularly at this point now, go out there and put that special glass and glasses on and try to view the eclipse. It would be spiritually the worst thing you could have done. And I'm going to explain to you why. When a solar eclipse happens, it's because the moon is going in front of the sun. And when that occurs, the sun, in a couple of seconds or a minute and a half, or the duration of the eclipse, the sun and the moon will take all of the shape and the configuration, the geometry, of what it would take an entire year to occur. If you witness it, and the light and the stuff of the solar eclipse happen, your body and your energy system will interpret it as 1 year passing, which means what? It will accelerate your karma for 1 year. God knows I don't want my karma to be accelerated. I'm trying to slow the pace down. As it stands now, the whole planet is purging too quickly. So from a spiritual standpoint, the people in India knows this, that in ashrams, during an eclipse, everybody's in silent in prayer. They're repeating the Durga mantra to try to slow down the acceleration of karma. People don't go out on this. We Westerners are doing things backwards. People who are more deeply spiritual have a better understanding of that, and they don't do it this way. So be aware of this and be careful. The Durga mantra that from Georgie, you guys can during that time, if you are in a area where the eclipse is actually visible, you should be saying this while this is going on, and stay indoors. There's a lot of things that are going on, and they're going on very fast, and we should be praying and asking God for mercy and asking for help. But before we do this, the core has to be at peace. We have to be at rest. Our own internal conflicts and things that we have inside of us that are intention need to be to find equilibrium. They need to be at rest. And whatever it is, there are times I wake up in the morning. I find, for example, that I'm shallow breathing. And that shallow breath is connected to the fact that during the night, maybe I impacted something. I had dreams. I went in realms that I shouldn't have gone into in my dream state. And because of this, I am shallow breathing. And that shallow breath does not allow me to surrender everything and to allow God in. My ego is getting involved, or my fear of something is allowing my ego to try to control it. So as I do the breath control and I begin to sense in my core, very quickly I begin to notice all kinds of things. Now, there are times I go in there, it's actual physical things in my body. I have to change I shared this with you last week. I noticed that there's certain kind of spices. I have to diminish it, if not eliminate from my diet altogether, because I can no longer tolerate them. They cause all kind of a core issue. It's because we are evolving spiritually, and some of these foods and spices are too grounding, too 3D grounding, and they no longer serve. And I have to evolve myself into a higher vibration and frequency, and I need to eliminate them altogether. There are other times where it's physical things in my body, answers to what may have appeared to be health issues, but they are not really that I didn't have a real answer for, and some of which maybe you went to the doctor, they're still not giving you a correct diagnosis and answer, and the spiritual or emotional roots of them are going to get revealed to you. Or it's going to tell you, for example, what you're feeling in your kidneys, what you're feeling in your back, what you're feeling in whatever part of your body. Your dizziness is related to you holding this feeling or these emotions or this trauma, this past trauma in this part of your body. Now, a lot of time we think we know the trauma already, we've already resolved it. I guarantee you there are layers of these things that you have not addressed yet. Guarantee you. And, you know, whether it was a sexual abuse or trauma or somebody tried to hurt you or harm you physically, there are parts of these things that we have to emotionally completely let go and surrender. Because your body, sometimes I wake up and I can, when I go in my core, I can feel parts of that core is literally shaking and trembling. Like you have to listen very carefully to be able to get to that point. Because all of us are busy controlling and saying everything is okay, everything is fine, I'm okay, and you know, I'm strong, I can do. But when you're listening that attentively, there are parts of me that sometimes I can feel or trembling or shaking. And it takes me, sometimes I don't even know what I'm afraid of, what that part of myself is afraid of. I want to teach, I hope I'm getting through to you, because it's such a subtle thing. I'm sharing my personal experiences because I want you to get this. As we evolve and grow, the tests are going to be more and more subtle and more difficult to spot. And at this level of our collective growth, this is where we are. You have to create peace in that core. You have to find a way to find the equilibrium. So whatever it is that I found, whether it's toward my heart, something is shaking and trembling, or whether I feel I can't breathe, or it's my, you know, near my adrenal glands or my shoulder blades, however it is, I simply breathe deeply without any judgment, because we judge ourselves, we judge everyone else, and we judge ourselves. Without any judgment, I go into that part and I keep breathing deeply and slowly, and I simply allow myself to listen, allowing all the cell that's around, let's say it's around the adrenal, all the cells that are around the adrenal, to listen as if they were all these trillions of cells had ears. And I'm doing a silent query to ask that part of me to communicate and let me know what kind of information is it holding. Share with me. I need to be conscious and aware of what kind of information that part of my body is holding. And you will find when that information surfaces and you know it. And then you can ask your monad to give you a corrective, because it's usually a false belief. You're holding a trauma or something in there that was a survival mechanism. And you need to find an ascended way to deal with that, to heal it and to deal with it, to reframe it, to give it a new assignment, a new purpose. And when you do this, when you find, and you're going to find that from your monad and your higher self, and when you find that, and you let it be reframed, then suddenly you can feel immediately in that part of your body, the trembling or whatever sensation you had is gone. It's like poof, it disappears. And if you had physical symptom, whether it is your stomach was upset, or you had diarrhea, or you were bleeding in your stools, or whatever it is that you had, or you were dizzy, it's all gone. All of that is gone. Because you have addressed the emotional issue. All physical disease begin with an emotional imbalance, an imbalance in the emotional or energy body. And what I'm guiding you into by having this inner daily routine of conversation is to restore equilibrium in your energy body, in your core. Because once your core is integral, is at peace, in neutrality, then when you go do the torsion field now with the guardian, let's say you do this for 10 minutes, then you now call the guardian out and everything is more open than it was before. When you ask the guardian alliance or light to come in, and they come from the core of the earth moving through your body, when they move in, you're in neutrality already in 3D. So the other 12 torsion fields that are nested on top of you align perfectly so that the core and the center of the donut that's in you in 3D, in 4D, in 5D, all the way back to source, are all aligned perfectly. So your broadcast and the radiation and the attraction and the expansion of your generosity, your love, and your light is nothing can stop it. Because now in 3D, you're in such neutrality that you will ground what's being gifted to you by the guardian from the first guardian to the 12th one. You will be able to completely ground it. So it will extend the reach of your broadcast. Any questions, any comments?
Could you repeat the last part with the increased neutrality or ground?
Yes.
What?
Yes. So what happened is that when you are yourself so grounded, when the 12th guardian come in, it will extend the radiation, the attraction, and the generosity of what you're trying to extend out to the world.
Okay, thank you.
You understand? And you because you are the grounding rod that will allow the gift coming from all the 12 guardian to connect in 3D. And what's stopping it is because we intend, because we have all of these conflicts in our core, we intend and unintend 3 to 5 times per minute. We agree, we disagree, over, not consciously, but it's because we have all these internal conflicts. So as we evolve and grow, we need to make sure that that core is at rest. Does that make any sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So it's important because, and also the kind of diet that you're feeding yourself. What I mean by that, the kind of stuff that you're listening to, reading, what you're letting your consciousness be exposed to through mass media. If you're exposed to all this conspiracy theory, all these fear things, you cannot be at rest. Or if you're like me, you're an empath and you're an intuitive, you have to, basically what I'm asking you to do, you need to monitor your boundaries on a daily basis. Because during sleep at night, you're going to places, you're traveling as an empath, you're picking up stuff. If the world is in danger, as a person that sees the future, I see things sometimes that are very disturbing. And once you see the future, you see something, you cannot unsee it. That's the thing about seeing the future. It's not all it's cracked up to be. You cannot unsee it. So and because some of these things are so big, I have to surrender them to God when I realize I can't control it. I have to take very deep breath and surrender. Like, okay, I'm picking up something in my dream. I went somewhere, and sometimes I wake up from the dream. I'm like, oh, these dreams are so weird. They have nothing to do with me, and I know I can recognize them very easily now, because a lot of time during the night when I have these dreams, I call them the big dreams. They are not related to me. They have nothing to do with what's going on in my life. They are so out of the box. I know in primitive people use the same word as well. Back home in Creole, we call it gros rêve, big dreams. Carl Gustav Jung talks about the same thing. They said primitive people all over, they call these things the big dreams, which are related to prediction of what's going to happen in the world. It's not related to your own internal psychology. You're picking up something that's in the ether of the planet. And sometimes it's so disturbing that it rocks, it disturbs the equilibrium of my own psyche. So although I don't want to be blinded completely, because I need some of these insights, but I need God to give me the wisdom and the detachment that I don't internalize these things. I want to be empathetic and pick up what my circle of influence is going through. So it's a thin line. I want to pick up what I want to be socially intelligent enough to know what other people are going through, what kind of struggle they go, so that I can be a better healer. I can intercede better. But I don't want to be the I don't want to take the burden of trying to undo, change, and fix. And this is what most of us do, including me, is that we attempt to fix. We see these things and we're like, we got to do something. We got to warn people. We got to fix. We got and particularly now, this stuff is way above our pay grade. We cannot fix them.
Pierre, question.
Yes.
You've spoken about visions of the future being like tines in a fan.
Yes.
That at any one moment, multiple possibilities exist.
Mm-hmm.
So when you pick up a vision of the future, is it indicating to you that it is the predominant vision, or is it just one of many?
There's a difference when you're picking up these things. There's a difference between a prediction and an omen. I'm using words, and I'm going to explain what the words mean, because I don't have any other way of vocabulary to explain it. Okay? A vision is a potential for manifestation. So when the fan opens, you have multiple potential manifestation, potential way, the way the future will show. In other words, there is a fan, let's say somebody is addressing, I could have a dream that presented itself this way, but the fan for me most of the time happen not so much in dreams. In the dreams, they happen differently. I'll explain both things. So when I'm with a client or with one of you and you're talking to me, or I'm watching something in the news, and then I see the fan open up, but I have to be very neutral to see this. I have to be so neutral and so at rest in my core to be able to perceive for the fan to open up. So most of the time, they are potential for manifestation, right? So I see, let's say, 4 things or 5 things simultaneously. They all show up simultaneously. And it's very hard for me because my brain is still linear. All of these things are happening, and I'm being bombarded with 6 different things at the same time that my brain has to remember, right? So it's kind of like a shock to my 3D brain wiring, right? I have to remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this one feels this with that one feels that kind of thing. And then what eventually happened as this exchange, if somebody's talking to me, as this story is being told to me, it eventually narrows down into 2 or 3 choices. So what you were talking about Janice, before, which potential. I see a lot of them, and then eventually they get reduced to maybe 2 or 3, right? And those are the one, if I'm gonna communicate this, I need to address, I need to tell the person. And pretty soon after that, the ones that were not have the highest possibility for manifestation, they disappear in the background. I don't even remember them because my brain cannot compute it. Because it's too many things, too much data for my brain to process. On the other hand, when the future is already decided and it's something that's going to happen, I only perceive one thing.
Mhm.
Okay? When it's like 85%, 70% moving in that direction and it's already decided, I can't, there's nothing I can do to change it. Okay, I shouldn't say that because I used to think this way. When I had a dream about, and I'm going to explain to you very simple when this happened. This was over a year ago. I had a dream, and I shared the dream with the class with all of you, that I saw a gigantic tsunami wave in a dream that was so tall and so immense, it was almost 300 feet.
Mhm.
And I was running and with my sister trying to climb a wall to get out of the way, and I saw all these Arab or not Arab, I shouldn't say, Muslim people, like shopkeepers and all that and so on and so forth. It first looked like I was in Brooklyn because my sister lives in a neighborhood where there's a mosque, and it kind of looked like around there when you get out of the subway. And I was like, no, that, and all of a sudden it turned. Anyway, I had asked all of you to pray for mercy because I didn't know if I could change it. Then I had a second dream 2 weeks later. And I remember that morning I had the dream and I was going to have lunch with Georgie. And I went to have the lunch. We met at 12 o'clock. We had the lunch. And at the lunch, I told him this morning I woke up, instead of the huge wave, I saw a wave that came in and it was up only to my knee. The water was only up to my knee. And then I went inside the building, I held onto a tree, went inside the building, and then I came back out, the water had receded, everything was okay. I didn't know it was possible to soften the landing up to that point. When I got home, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, I got home, around 1:30, I opened, the news flash came in as I walked in my apartment. The Tonga underwater volcano that created a tsunami, but a small one, whereas the neighboring island only experienced about a 3 feet tsunami, which is what I saw in the dream that morning. If I had not told Georgie about this, I have a witness. I saw it in the dream, that it had lessened. So when I see these things, when I see one single thing, the omens are more disturbing to me because I know these are futures. The landing is already decided, it's going to happen. But how it happens and it hasn't landed yet, if enough people pray and ask for mercy, it can begin to soften the landing. Does that make any sense, Janice?
Right. So that's interesting to me. As I remember back, we were praying to the hurricane or the super storm or whatever it was, Sandy, I think back then, to, if possible, change course to avoid catastrophic injury to humans. So it's interesting that a collective effort can be had to make a change in a determined projection of a future event.
Yes. Yes, yes. We can always, if we collectively, because the laws of nature are created. If you remember the certainty of Makshoni and the party of the Red Sea, it's when enough people are in the same consciousness and they ask for mercy, the laws of nature will be superseded. I didn't know it was possible until that one experience, because up to that point, I had so many other predictions and dreams, including 9/11, which I'm on the 5th, on September 5th, I had a dream. I saw the whole thing in my dream. But at the time, I didn't believe that it was possible.
Right, of course. Is there any dream that you've had of a prophetic nature now that you feel warrants our attention? Well, you mentioned the two people earlier. Anything other than that?
I had a very complicated dream, but that was months ago. I have not seen any of it happen. It was multiple parallel things that were happening at the same time. But this dream, this is the first time I had a dream where it was like a fan. And I was flipping from one scene to another. It had nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
And there was a section, I'm trying to remember, in the dream, I remember the first thing is I had landed in the city, and it was a downtown area, like urban downtown area with tall buildings and so on and so forth. And I wanted to buy something. And I went into a store where there was a glass display case. And I don't remember exactly what I was buying or what I was attempting to buy. But I know that there were two men that came to attend to me. One older and one younger and a little bit flamboyant. And we had a brief conversation, and I went outside. When I went outside, the dream changed. And in the dream, I found that I was on top of a blimp on a helium balloon. It's crazy dream. I was on top of it, and I was trying to escape something. And there was another air balloon, hot air balloon, it's not even hot air, it's a helium, like a blimp. I don't know what you call it. There was another one pursuing us, and they grappled us and pulled us toward them. And they deflated, and they wanted something from the balloon we had. It was an armoire we were carrying, a beautiful wood armoire. Okay, at that point in the dream, I'm not in a physical body. This is there are three ways in which dreams you can see yourself. You can see yourself as yourself, you can see yourself as someone else, or you could be almost like a camera, a drone, or a ghost in the dream. You know you're there, you're with other people. I didn't have a body, but I'm with these people that all have this armoire. And suddenly they take something or grab something from the first one, and they shot something in the first blimp, and the blimp started to go down. The next thing you know, the dream changed again. And there is what looks like a big metal, you know, those kind of water tank that you see when you're driving on the highway. But there is an entire what do you call it? I'm inside this giant drum. First, I'm outside of it, and there's people in military gear that are trying to get at some people inside of it that taking something from them. And somehow the whole thing is encased in this kind of cylindrical metal, and they're trying to puncture themselves through. That's the best way I can describe it. It's a big metallic cylinder thing. And somehow they managed to get in, and as they got in, there is a man, there's shooting. I'm still a ghost. I'm still witnessing all of this. And then there's a man, very clear, tall, thin, in paramilitary gear, almost parachute outfit. And he has all of these grenades or stuff, like 4 of them in his hand, that are square, rectangular in shape. And he runs toward these people and he releases them. And the dream changes again. I am now back again in the downtown area. And as I'm walking down that city, I see an entire section of the city that has been leveled down. And I had a flashback that there was an open market in that area where people used to shop. Right now, it's completely empty, and it's so devastated. It looks like the pictures that you're seeing out of Gaza. Everything's in, like, no, it wasn't 9/11. Everything is in black and white. Everything is gray. I remember after 9/11 going down to the World Trade Center, it looks like the same ashy gray. And then I remember going, and I'm trying to get out of the area because it's highly congested. And barricade everywhere. I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to get out. And I woke up from the dream. But this is months ago. Now, the dream kept flipping. I don't have a chronology. I don't understand. I still don't understand it. But since you asked, I wanted to tell you that's the last dream I had where I feel like each vignette is a different future.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? The downtown area is a different future. The helium, the blimp is a different, each one of them is a different thing.
Hmm.
I don't have a context for it. I still don't. And the first time I'm talking about it openly. I only shared it with one person.
I do remember that you had mentioned catastrophic sort of explosion in a city
Yes.
plaza or a sort of a square of some kind.
That was the dream. That was the dream.
Right.
I just generally spoke about it. I didn't want to get it in recording because I was not comfortable sharing it at the time.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Yes.
But from that, do you think that there is something we need to collectively?
I don't, at this point, this happened almost 3 months ago. I have not seen anything come forward because of this. I think whatever it is, it fed in the background. Because we know that 9 billion of us are on Earth, and we are, by action or by inaction, we are constantly rewriting. At the time, there were potential for manifestation. But at this point, I don't think they have,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? I think they fade as potential, they fade in the background because different choices were made.
I understand. So if there's anything that does come up and you'd like to alert us, just of course we'd be happy to.
Thank you. Thank you, Janice. I deeply appreciate this. I deeply appreciate this. But that was like almost 3 months ago. Maybe in January, it was the time in which that dream actually happened. Yeah, January or December or something like that. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments? So the rest that exists in our core of trying to communicate with the core to find the rest is the key. Because the more at rest, the more you're what's the word I'm looking for? The more you're creating proper boundary, because it's an exercise in boundary. It's an exercise in you. And again, it's diet and food boundary. It's dream related boundary, emotional and psychological boundary. It's also you as an intuitive and a psychic not allowing everything in. So it's also social intelligence boundary. And the more you find it, and all of it, if you're allowing it in, if you allow any of these things in, and again, you want to be because if we close everything down and we shut down and we don't allow anything in, we cannot be human. We cannot be empathetic. We cannot exist in this world, or for that matter, we cannot lead the world. We cannot help humanity. So you want to be able to do with it, to be empathetic, but we should be able to do it in a way that does not cause us to shut down and to harm ourselves and to cause us to go in fear and panic. By us trying to solve some of these things that are so big and so extraordinary that we know that we cannot possibly change them. Janice, I'm glad you brought up Sandy, I actually believe the connection we did for Sandy that so many years ago, and the prayers and the stuff that we did, although we saw the flooding, if we had not done the connection and asked for mercy, I think the damage from Sandy would have been much worse than that. So yes, indeed, with the insight that I have now, I begin to realize that it is necessary that we collectively get together when we see these great shifts that are going to occur, that we co-create or ask God to ground, allow the landing to become softer so that humanity can find safe passage. So it's extremely important that we work together as a team for that to occur. I remember so clearly all of the insight, because all of us saw the water. We saw the flooding. So many of us did not understand. We saw a lot of stuff that were coming. The previous hurricane before that, Irene, I think it was called. It was so clear. All of us saw exactly the same thing. Everything is going to be okay. Don't worry, everything is going to be okay. But Sandy was a different, when we collectively connected, we all saw it. And so when in our core, we are at rest and at peace, we can be empathetic enough to know these things ahead of time. And we have to find a way not to take the burden to try to be Gandalf and stand on the drink, Gandalf standing on the bridge of Khazad-dûm, say, "You shall not pass," and strike our staff down. We don't have that kind of power. At least I know I don't. But when we pray and we ask for mercy and we ask for intercession from God and from a higher power, and we surrender everything into God, God can do whatever God wants to do. And that's the point, is that you have to have the humility and the smallness to realize that you're not capable of stopping this thing. But that you can be small enough to say to spirit, I offer you this. I know that this is a potential for a manifestation. God help. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, I did. Esther has a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Just a second. Give her a second, sorry. I moved away from the phone. Here, I just wanted to comment that, when we did the meditation around Sandy, an image came to me in the meditation, and it showed up in the image, and I knew that was an image of Sandy, and after the meditation, you closed out. The next day, what happened was that same image disappeared to me. And it was really surprising because I'd seen the image of Sandy, in meditation. And time I recognized, the image that was Sandy, it showed me that it was veering. It took off and, it just veered west. And I wanted to share that because, the image Sandy did come back to me and told me that, the direction was actually changing. It was going to go in a different direction.
Well, what a blessing it is to have communication with something that's that immense. If you remember, the eye of this thing was miles and miles wide. And
Yeah.
so potent and so powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. It was surprising. I mean, it really kind of, jarred me. I said, oh, because I'd seen that same image in meditation. And then time I did the recognizing, it just it took off. But it was showing me that it started and then it went in a totally different direction.
It went toward.
So I just wanted to hear that.
Yeah, it went back toward the land. Yes.
Yes, exactly. It definitely
It was
did.
going,
But west.
going at sea, and then it went back toward the land. It went west. Yeah. 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 Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, this is the gift that we have. And again, you don't want to shut down that kind of gift because that's social intelligence. Because these gigantic natural forms are actually communicating with us. We don't want to shut it down, but we don't want also to let it trigger such fear that it becomes so paralyzing and so terrifying, and it causes us to be less prepared to deal with the impact of the landing of these things. So that's the thin line that we need to maintain. There's a part where we have to surrender. We have to let go. So you go in your car, you find wherever you are not at rest, you release, you let go, you surrender, you let your higher power, your monad take all these things away from you. And as you become neutral and you begin to empathetically begin to see and feel what the future holds. I used to be very scared of omen. Till I had that experience with the Tonga underwater eruption, a volcano. Because up to that point, I couldn't stand the omens. I remember praying to God and saying, why is it that I'm always seeing these omens and they're always catastrophic things? I don't want to see it. I want to see people winning the lottery. I want to see people getting married. I want to see the happy things, right? And why would I want to see all these stuff? It's such a big burden for me to know all of these things. But I'm in a different place now because I'm realizing maybe I have a role to play to help the rest of humanity, given the fact that we're going to go through all this turbulence. Maybe that's the role I'm supposed to play as a seer, to kind of guide people. And now that I know that we can collectively soften the landing, the degree to which we're not responsible for, we just surrender it to God and we let God create the grace, the degree of grace that God thinks that we deserve. We let God do that.
Yeah, in addition, would it not be a benefit collectively, as we also find this peace in our core, that aids the situations that are building out of the collective? We contribute that peace to the core, to the collective. And so while it's good to pray and ask God's mercy and grace on a situation that could be pending, maybe more importantly is our work to heal ourselves and therefore heal the collective.
Absolutely, Janice. Absolutely, because you're knocking two birds with one stone, or you're supporting two birds with
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Because indeed, by us being at peace and not being in conflict, when you broadcast and you radiate that out, it caused the people that like in your circle of influence to find peace. It causes all the people that that you love, that you care for, that to entrain, because you're broadcasting it out. Remember, the point of us incarnating at this time is for us to share DNA with the rest of humanity. most of humanity is not doing what we're doing. This is too hard and too complicated. We are the one that have dedicated our lives to be the herald or the bushwhacker that's going to create this path. So as we become more at peace, as we become and as we reconcile and we are more in serenity internally within ourselves, as our core become more in equilibrium, we broadcast that to the rest of the world because we share DNA with the rest of humanity. As star seeds that have come on Earth, we now share DNA with humanity. And it's through that mirror neuron network that we will broadcast this out. It's the same network that's broadcasting to us in dreams and in intuitive insight, the fear that the rest of the world has. But it worked the opposite way as well. So Janice, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And it's a beautiful thing because we can radiate it out, we can broadcast it, and we can empathetically, and this is the power of someone who's truly socially intelligent. If you're socially intelligent and everybody's at fear, you can walk in, and by your presence, you can already create peace for everyone else. I've seen this happen. I've been around people and holy people that were saints and highly enlightened, elevated. They walk into a room, they cause the whole room to go into an entranced state without any induction. They just walk in by their broadcast of what they hold. They automatically cause everyone else around them to be in a different state of awareness.
I was just thinking about your previous 2 weeks ago, maybe, class where you're talking about attachments.
Mhm.
And part of this piece in the core where you find maybe a part of you that has some issues or tensions, maybe in addition, or maybe it is the same, attachments that you have. I'm just thinking, and if I take a moment to share, last weekend I couldn't join the class because I was in the middle of a major computer upgrade process because some software wasn't working properly and because it wasn't compatible with the OS and on and on. Anyway, it was a major process that could have turned negative. I determined from the start that I was going to accept whatever happened. I was going to do my best to prevent any tragedies, but I was going to accept whatever the outcome was going to be in the process. And I did pretty well through 2 days. At the end of the second day, another major hit was like a virus that it looked like, although it's a Mac and it's unusual, a virus hit. I did the torsion field. I prayed, that this should be released and healed. And then once I had kind of held on with my fingernails to that concept of releasing anything that might not be optimum in my manner of thinking, I had another snag that looked like the people who were healing the computer and had control of my computer weren't releasing it. Or it was, they had, but it didn't look like it. And then I lost it. And then I thought, darn, I failed. But then I think I really tried hard. But so there's mercy, I suppose, in the effort to try to stall a potential tragic event or fear of it. Maybe there's a benefit, at least in reaching 50 or 75% of that journey. At least I hope so.
Yes. Well, there is always mercy. And through us, and again, we don't have to do this alone. That's the point. The point is that we're not alone. And so when you have the situation that are presenting themselves to you that seems so overwhelming, you have to remember that you're not alone. And hopefully you had backup and And in the event something happened, you could have, got everything back from the backup.
Yes.
So, but the the idea being that you're right, that you do the best that you can, and beyond that, you have to let it go. Let it go.
Well,
Yeah.
the human frailties sometimes, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak kind of saga.
Yeah, and again, there are certain things that are out of our control. In the event of a virus or some sort of, we're not exactly computer experts ourselves. We're computer literate, but it doesn't mean that you will know what port this virus is coming from and how to stop it. You're not a hacker. How would you know?
Mhm.
Right? So this is something that's, again, it's beyond your pay grade. And if that is the case, you just have to move forward with whatever the next step may be.
Well, the bottom line is that I was protected. It wasn't a virus, but it was something that took more work to clear
Yes,
causing it. So my prayer for the computer to be healthy, and if it wasn't, for me to be okay with that,
yes.
came out okay.
Yeah. I got it. Well, terrific. It's a great experience, a great learning tool. And again, in a similar fashion, we can begin to realize that again, the attachments that we were talking about before, and also he was there. I'm glad you brought this up because you reminded me as well. In your core, when you begin to analyze all of this, you will not only find attachments to things, people, places, and things, and those attachments are connected to karma. And I can tell you that the people that are in our lives, and this is where you need to maintain the integrity of that core. And this is the overwhelming reason. Most of the time when I go to check what my karma is, I'm realizing that I have a lot of positive karma. The negative experiences that I'm having in my life right now are connected from me trying to so-called help people, but it's not really help because I'm not allowing people to, I'm not really mentoring, particularly for the people I care and love. I'm not allowing people to fix the karma by themselves. I'm trying to lift the karma for them. And the moment you do this, you get entangled with their karma. And it's their karma that you're carrying. And that's the other part that you have to watch out for. Because when you do that core conversation in the morning, if you see, and this is something that happened to me in the course of my examination of myself and what I was facing, I could hear very clearly a voice inside of me that said, that's not your karma. You're not supposed to experience this. It's because of your connection to this person or that person and your desire, because you care for them, to pull them out from where they are. And you're too attached to it. Dr. Stone used to talk about all the time that you have to have preferences and not attachments. So when you're helping somebody, even a family member, and that's the hard part, even a family member, you have to have preference. You would prefer that this happened this or that way, but whatever shows up, like Janice was saying, if it was even that, I've accepted the faith that whatever it is, it's going to be for the highest good. And if you can do this, it typically you will be more effective. When I spend the time trying to share with you the attachments that I had to my mom when my mom became ill, I couldn't do hands-on healing on her anymore, but because she was surrendering everything into me as well, so deeply and so profoundly that I would become sick for like 4 or 5 days. I mean, unable to even get out of bed. Every part of my body, I became dizzy. I couldn't walk. I couldn't do it. Or cancel all appointment. I couldn't do anything because I was doing the sacrifice thing. The false belief for sacrifice. I was taking everything that she gave, and I'm like, she's my mother. I will take a bullet for her. And that is again a false belief that in examining my core that I realize that it's a huge one for that the church has perpetuated on many of us who are who grew up Christian. A huge, immense one that we have to sacrifice. There is no such thing in the universe as a sacrifice. Everything in the universe is perpetually renewing. The idea that you have to sacrifice come from lack, that you have to cut an arm, kill yourself so that someone else can live. There is no, the universe does not, it doesn't exist. Everything is perpetually changing and mutating because nothing created, nothing destroyed. It's just mutating in a different state. So from a higher perspective, from the sacrifice is a serapine, it's a low vibration and perspective of things. When you move into higher consciousness, there is no sacrifice. And I realized the people that I was trying to rescue whose karma, because when you're trying to rescue somebody, you're not empowering them to do for themselves. You're not empowering them. You're just taking the blunt and you're lifting their burden. When a guru or a teacher comes in and try to intercede for you or saint, they don't take your karma away. What they do is that they allow God through them. They become the lens that focus infinity times infinity and touch you through them. And when that happens, they don't lift the karma. They allow infinity times infinity, the perpetually renewing field of endless possibility to connect to you and release in you the means to lift you out of the rot or the glue trap that you're in. But when our ego gets involved, Pierre wants to do it. Pierre is gonna, do this for his mother or this person or that person. And every time we do this, we block the other person from learning. And because we're doing this, we take part of their karma comes to us. There's a negative backlash because we're interfering with the growth and the evolution of another sentient being. Again, that's why we have to maintain that thin line, that boundary between doing, broadcasting, and surrendering. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Let us take a 5-minute break, and then in the back end, we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me.
love you, and I let go. Please forgive me. I love you, and I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of any sensations that may exist in your core. Allow your awareness to attune to your central column and notice any discomfort, pressure, sensations, or unease. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. Pay attention to any sensations insights or information that this part of your body is trying to communicate with you. Share with me what you know. Keep breathing deeply and slowly, and remain open and listen to any insights, breakthroughs that your inner intelligence is trying to communicate to you. As I sense the fears and panic of the world, Lord, grant me the detachment not to empath the fear. The strength and resiliency to be a good shepherd, the patience to help humanity navigate the storms. Speak through me and help them find peace, serenity, and reconciliation. Help me show them the neutrality that I know, as a way to respond to injustices without zealotry or emotional blindness. For responding to fear with fears creates an equally toxic dynamic. Balancing fear with wisdom and love. Repair and heal the illusion of separation that divide us. Lord, I am not certain that I can accomplish this task, for I am just a man. But in you, Lord, I completely surrender myself and my mission. Guide my path, Lord, and fortify me, that I may do your work and have healed humanity. O cosmic birther of all radiance and vibration, soften the ground of all being and carve out a space within us where your presence can abide. Fill us with your creativity so that we may be empowered to bear the fruit of our mission. Let each of our actions bear fruit in accordance with your desire. Endow us with the wisdom to produce and share what each being needs to grow and flourish. Untie the tangled threads of destiny that binds us as we release others from the entanglement of past mistakes. Do not let us be seduced by that which would divert us from our true purpose, but illuminate the opportunities of the present moment. For you are the ground and the fruitful vision, the birth, the power, and fulfillment of all that is gathered and made whole once again. Amen. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. How are you all feeling?
Still there, but it was a deeply cleansing experience, really. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to thank you all for listening tonight and for participating in the class. Thank you for your support on Patreon. On YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like this video. I want to thank you all for being part of this family, and I will talk to you next week. Many blessings, everyone. Keep up the good work. Talk to you next week. Love you.
Good night, everyone. Love you. Thank you, Peter.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.